In this video, we will show you how to replace your power steering return line on this Honda Accord. This will be located inside of your engine compartment. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we should mention is it's always a good idea to make sure you flush the power steering system with the manufacturer's specified fluid, so you're sure there's no contaminants in the system. Aside from that, it's also a good idea to remove as much of the fluid from in the system once you're done as possible. Now that we've done all that, let's follow that power steering return line down to this area where it will connect onto the tube. Use a 10mm to loosen this clamp. I always replace these clamps anyways. Set that aside for recycling. Now we'll just squeeze these ears together. Slide the clamp right on down that line. Take hold of the hose, give it a twist to separate it from the steel line. While I'm twisting, I'm also going to lift up here so we can separate this. There we are. Quick inspection of our rubber hose. Make sure that is still reusable and it's not torn, worn, or damaged. With that hose disconnected, let's follow that power steering return line down to where it connects onto the subframe. You should find that you have a plastic retaining clip right across this area. Ours is broken. Typically for this, all you would need to do is use a small screwdriver or a pick. Get in between this area and gently separate it and lift up on the upper tab to remove the line from this area. Now once you've done so, you don't want to move it too much because there is another one of these clips a little bit further down. But we're going to pause up here and carefully raise and support the vehicle so we can make our way inside of that right front wheel well. To gain access, let's safely raise and support the front of the vehicle, remove all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts, and then the passenger side front wheel. Now inside the wheel well, we have a clear view of our return line making its way across the top of the subframe. We have another plastic clip right here. To remove the line from this area, you can continue with a pick or a small screwdriver. You'd want to lift up on the tab to separate this, and then you can remove the line from that plastic clip. After that, you can continue following the line along the top of that subframe. You'll find that it's held in place along this area here with a 10mm headed bolt. Do not remove that bolt yet. Make your way along the other side of the subframe and remove the hose from the other end of the line. Now inside of this area, you'll be able to find where your power steering return line connects to the hose. Use a 10mm to loosen this clamp. We'll slide that out of the way and remove the hose from the line. I always like to replace these clamps. Just squeeze these ears together with some pliers. We can slide this down. Now we'll take hold of the hose, give it a little twist, and start separating it from this area. There's the probability there will be power steering fluid still inside of this area. It's a low point. Make sure you have your collection bucket under here. Now we can take hold of this, start sliding it off of there. Now with the hose disconnected from the line, we can make our way back to that last mounting point. We'll be using a 10mm to remove the mounting bolt. You'll find that the bracket is holding in place on the line. This will be easiest to remove once you have the line removed from the vehicle. There's that bolt, a quick inspection. Let's have a close look at the original line. You remember the bracket that we had to remove from the subframe of the vehicle with that 10mm headed bolt. We'll be reusing the metal aspect of the bracket. To reuse this, just go ahead and use a screwdriver right in between the ear and the area of the bracket so you can gently separate it enough that we can slide this out of place and remove it from the line. There's our bracket. Let's give this a quick inspection. We can set this aside. Let's get ready for the installation of our brand new power steering return line. You'll find on the forward end, I applied this rubber grommet, covering the area so no dirt or debris will make its way inside of our power steering system. All right, let's get ready for installation. Start sliding this through and bring it towards the front here. Now we can start aligning the rearward part here. Once again, you may have to flex this line a little bit. You want to be extremely careful not to crimp it or damage it in any way. By doing that, you can cause a restriction and you're going to have a power steering issue. There we are. Now that we have the line in place, let's continue on with our mounting bracket. You can take this, slide it over the line, align your mounting bolt hole, and go ahead and install that 10mm headed bolt and snug it up. That's where it bottomed out. Let's just make sure it's nice and snug. Since we had pried this bracket apart to remove it from the original line, it's important to make sure that you put the new line in the proper position and then use some pliers to crimp this shut. Of course, you do want to make sure that there's no part of the metal bracket up against the metal part of your return line. It should just have rubber in this area. Take hold of the line, give it a wiggle, make sure it is secured in this place. Let's reconnect our power steering hose to the power steering line. Take the two, squeeze them together, bring that hose all the way up to this piece here. Once you've done that, you would want to continue on with installing your clamp and make sure it's nice and tight. Just try to squeeze that together. It's starting to go on. We want to go a little further here. Let's get the clamp on there. For this clamp, I'll be using a 1/4-inch socket. If you're using the original, just go ahead and use a 10mm. Before I continue tightening this, I just want to give it a quick inspection. You want to make sure that you can still see a little bit of the hose on the opposite side of the clamp. If you're too close to the end, there's the probability it may come loose. You're going to have a power steering issue. Once you've confirmed it's in the proper place, we'll just make sure it's nice and tight. Right there is bottomed out. Make sure it's tight. Now let's continue moving forward. You remember that there should be several mounting points that make their way across the subframe, holding the line in place. Ours were broken, but it's important to make sure that this is secured. Now with that said, I'm going to leave the original clip inside the area here, so it creates a gap in between the two metal areas. We don't want them rubbing together. Continue on with a wire tie. We'll get this in place, bring it right on up and over that line, and strap it in so it's nice and tight. Trim off the excess. Reinstall your wheel. Start on all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts. We'll bottom this out, get the vehicle back on the ground, and we'll torque each one of these lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. With the wheels safely on the ground, continue torquing these in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Now up inside the engine compartment, we'll be down along the passenger side here. We're going to press that line into its clip and lock it. If yours is broken like ours was, you can go ahead and use a wire tie. I'm going to put a new clamp right on here. We'll connect these two areas together. You need to slide the hose all the way down onto that line until it meets up with this area. Be careful pressing it down. We don't want to cause any damage. Install the clamp in the proper position, making sure that you do have hose showing on both sides of it. Get that aligned. Install the clamp. Double check to make sure you can see hose on both sides of that clamp. This looks good. Let's fill up that power steering system. Making sure that you're using the manufacturer specified fluid, we'll continue adding until we're up to the add lines. You can see right in that reservoir, I'm at the first line, I'll bring it right up to the second line. Now that we have the power steering reservoir filled up to this level, let's carefully raise and support the front of the vehicle, just enough so the wheels are off the ground. Put the key in the on position and turn your steering wheel from one side all the way over to the other. We're going to do this nice and slow. Once we've made it to that side, we'll continue by going back and forth slowly to each of the stop points. While doing so, you will notice that air will make its way out of the system. While we continue this process, we'll also be paying attention to the level of that fluid. Continue topping it off as needed. Now that we've bled the system that way, let's continue on with removing our funnel, reinstalling the power steering reservoir cap. Now we want to get inside the passenger compartment, start up the vehicle and let it run for approximately 5 seconds and turn it right back off. Make your way back out here and double check that power steering fluid level. Typically, it will get drawn down a little bit. Top it off with that manufacturer specified fluid, reinstall the cap, and then run the vehicle for a little while longer. While doing so, make sure you check for power steering fluid leaks. Now, once you've run the vehicle, you found that you didn't have any more air in the system, and you checked for leaks, go ahead and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.